You're standing inside a temple. Giant stone figures circle you in the dark. And here's the impossible part. This was built before farming, before writing, before the wheel, by people who, by every rule we have, should not have been able to build anything at all. This is a real place. It's called Göbekli Tepe, a hilltop in southern Turkey, and it is roughly 11,600 years old. Let that land. It's older than Stonehenge by 6,000 years, older than the pyramids by 7,000. It was built before humans had farms, before they had towns, before they wrote a single word. And the people who built it weren't an empire. No kings, no armies, hunter-gatherers, small bands who chased wild animals for dinner. By every rule in the history books, they could not have built this. And yet, here it is, all around you. So stay with me, because by the end I'll show you the one discovery here that forces us to rewrite the story of how civilization began. Oh, and one more thing. Whoever built this place buried it. On purpose. We'll get to why. To feel how strange this is, you have to travel back with me. Picture everything you call ancient. The pyramids of Egypt, wonders of the old world. Now rewind past them. 7,000 years past them. Rewind past the Romans, past the Greeks, past the first great cities, past the very first words ever pressed into clay. Keep going. Past the wheel. Past pottery. They didn't even have clay pots yet. Past metal of any kind. Rewind until almost nobody on Earth has planted a single seed on purpose. The whole human race is still living wild, following the herds, gathering wild grain, sleeping under open sky. That is the world that built this temple. No farms, no towns, no writing, no metal. And somehow, those people climbed this hill and raised rings of carved stone giants taller than a house. For 100 years, archaeologists lived by a simple rule. Monuments like this come at the end of the story, after farming, after wealth, after kings. Gobekli Tepe is sitting right at the beginning. It's like finding a smartphone in a cave painting. So let's talk about the actual problem. These aren't little stones. The biggest pillars stand around 18 feet tall and weigh as much as 10 loaded pickup trucks, each one carved from a single block of limestone. Now remember the rules of this world. No metal tools, no iron to cut with, no wheels to roll anything, no animals trained to pull a cart. To shape these, workers used harder stones to peck and grind the rock by hand for weeks. To move them, they most likely dragged them with ropes, muscle, and wooden levers across hundreds of yards, then stood them upright in the ground. That takes hundreds of people, organized, working together for a very long time. And that's where this place turns from amazing into a genuine mystery. Hunter-gatherers live in small, scattered groups. So who organized them? And who fed an army of builders in a world with no farms and no storehouses? Hold on to that question. It's about to crack the whole case open. Now look closely at the pillars themselves, because here's where it gets eerie. They're not just slabs. Each one is shaped like a giant capital T, and they are people. Look closer. Carved down the sides are long arms, bending around to the front, where two hands almost meet above a carved belt. A few even wear a carved animal skin garment. They have no faces, just tall, watchful bodies, standing in a ring, turned to face inward, as if you've walked into a meeting of stone giants that's been going on for 11,000 years. And they're not alone. Carved all over them is a stone zoo. Foxes, wild boar, coiled snakes, scorpions, spiders, and big wild birds. But here's the strange part. These aren't gentle creatures. They're almost all the dangerous ones. Fangs, claws, stingers. These people didn't carve the harmless deer they ate for dinner. They carved the things that frightened them and stood them up in the dark. The question is, why? Quick thing. If a temple full of stone giants is your idea of a good time, tap subscribe, because what these people did next genuinely rewrites history. Okay, here's a clue most people walk right past. Buried in the dirt around these stones, archaeologists found bones. Tens of thousands of them, mostly wild gazelle and aurochs, a giant ancestor of the cow. Far more than the local builders could ever have eaten on their own. Which means people came here, lots of them, traveling for miles, from all over the region, to this one hill, to build and to feast together on a massive scale. Some researchers think they may even have brewed an early kind of beer in huge stone tubs to fuel the gatherings. Think about what that means. Before we had towns, this temple may have been the reason strangers gathered in large numbers at all. It was a meeting point, a place worth walking for days to reach. And keeping a crowd that size fed in one spot, again and again, would push people hard to find a more reliable food supply than chasing wild herds. Do you see where this is going? Okay, here's the story you were taught in school. For about 100 years, the history of civilization went like this. First, humans learned to farm. Farming gave them extra food. Extra food gave them spare time and settled villages. And only then, once they were fed, comfortable, and organized, did they build big temples and invent religion. Farming first, temples last. It's clean, it's logical, and Göbekli Tepe takes that whole story and turns it upside down. Because remember when this was built, before farming. The temple isn't the reward at the end of civilization. It's standing right at the start, before any of it existed. So one archaeologist stared at this hill and asked a question so simple it's almost dangerous. What if we got the entire order backwards? Here's the idea that gave archaeologists chills. What if it wasn't farming that led to the temple, but the temple that led to farming? Picture it. The pull to gather here, to build something sacred, together, draws hundreds of people to this hill, over and over, for generations. But you can't feed a crowd that size on luck and wild herds forever. So, to keep the gatherings going, people start managing the wild grain growing nearby, guarding it, planting it, harvesting it. In other words, the need to feed the temple may have nudged humanity into farming. And now the goosebump part. Look at the hills right next to Göbekli Tepe, close enough to see from the top. Scientists traced the DNA of one of the world's earliest farmed wheats, and it points straight back to a mountain in this exact region. The world's oldest temple, and some of the world's first farmed wheat, practically neighbors. So the real story may not be, we became farmers, and then we built temples. It may be, we wanted to build the temple, so we became farmers. Belief came first. The fields came after. And if that's true, this lonely hill isn't just an old building. It might be the place where civilization itself switched on. So, mystery solved? Not even close. And honestly, that's the best part. Because the more we dig here, the stranger it gets. Let me be straight with you. Experts still argue about almost everything on this hill. Some now think people may actually have lived here, not just visited, which means the neat temple first idea is a powerful theory, not a closed case. And then there are the things we may never explain. In the stone, archaeologists found fragments of carved human bone, marked with careful, deliberate grooves, a hint at ceremonies around the honored dead that we can barely begin to read. And the biggest mystery of all is the one I promised you at the very start. After using this place for centuries, the builders filled it in. They packed the great stone rings with rubble and earth, by hand, and buried them. Why would anyone bury the most important place in their world? To protect it? To put it to rest? To hide it from someone? Nobody knows. And here's the fact that should keep you up tonight. Scans of the hill show there are more rings still down there, maybe 15 or 20 of them, hundreds more pillars. After decades of digging, we have uncovered only a small fraction of it. The vast majority of the oldest temple on Earth is still underground, unseen, waiting. And it isn't even alone. Nearby hills are now revealing sister sites, just as old. So step back and stand on that hilltop one more time. 11,600 years ago, people with no farms, no writing, no metal, and no will looked up at an empty hill and decided to build something far bigger than themselves. They moved mountains of stone by hand. They gathered strangers into crowds. And they may have invented farming, and with it, the entire modern world, just to keep the gatherings at their temple alive. We didn't build this because we were already civilized. We may have become civilized because we wanted to build this. And if a single hill in Turkey can flip the whole story of who we are, it makes you wonder what else we've gotten backwards. If you felt that little chill just now, you're exactly the kind of curious person this channel is built for. So hit subscribe, and you'll be here for the next one. Because I've already pulled the next case file, another place that, by all the rules, shouldn't exist, hiding in plain sight. It's on your screen right now. Tap it, and I'll meet you there.